The college football playoff quarterfinals are finally here.
This is the Halftime Sports Talk Show with your host, Reese Kinder.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of the Halftime Sports Talk Show. I'm your host, Reese Kinder, and guys, it's about that time. A new year's about to start. Today at midnight will mark the end of 2024, and we will be going into 2025, a new year. But today we do got some decent bowl games to talk about, some college football, college basketball conference plays coming up, women's college basketball conference plays coming up, and then you also got some NBA to talk about. So let's get right into it, and let's start this episode off right with some college football, kind of talking about the games that are going to happen today on New Year's Eve. Sorry for that camera shake there. I don't know why the camera's shaking like that, but kind of is. Keeps doing that. Probably as I'm clicking my computer trying to find these scores and everything. But yes. We have finally reached December 31st, the end of a new year. And currently right now, the Real Quest Bowl is going on in Tampa, Florida. And right now, this is almost laughable. This is like I could make a comedy joke out of this because yeah, Michigan is beating Alabama right now, 16-7. And for those that said Alabama deserved to make it to the college football playoff, you guys are idiots. Yeah, you guys are dumb. That's so stupid. Alabama, I've watched. It's still on right now. Second quarter. It's almost halftime. But I've watched the first half of this game, and this game is not Alabama's turn. They turned the ball over 3 times in the first quarter. Jalen Milroe threw a pick, and he fumbled it twice. Now you could say, "Oh, it was raining and stuff like that," but no, that's no excuse. Alabama is not ready for this game, and excuse me, if Alabama ends up losing this game, they will finish the season 9-4. One of the worst seasons they've had in a while. And yeah, I mean, this Alabama team just was not ready at all. And what did I say all year? I said that Alabama probably is not the best team, like they've always been in the past, and I was right. This Alabama team definitely has had their struggles all season, and they're struggling again against a 7-5 Michigan team, and it's just not looking good at all so far. Like first half stats, just gonna break down really quick the first half stats. Jalen Milroe is 6 for 9, 58 passing yards, 1 TD, and one interception thrown. Excuse me there. And then Alabama's running back Scott has 1 carry for 28 yards. And then really Alabama, their only touchdown came from one of their tight ends, and it was a 25-yard reception. That's the only touchdown they've had. And for Michigan, they Davis Warren 8 for 11, 68 passing yards, 1 touchdown. So both quarterbacks have really not even done anything honestly in this game. It just hasn't been competitive on the offensive side of things. The defensive side of things has been pretty good for Michigan overall. And then Marshall for Michigan, their running back, 9 carries, 31 yards. And then Moore, the Michigan receiver, 3 receptions, 37 yards, and 1 TD. I don't mind. I'm looking up at the screen right now, and Alabama's in Michigan territory. They just threw a 41-yard pass to Bernard. It's a pretty good throw by Milroe there, but yeah. So far this first half, both offenses have looked kind of bland, but Michigan's defense has been the highlight of the game so far, forcing 3 turnovers in the first half, 2 fumbles and 1 interception. So pretty good job by the Michigan defense. If they can hold that out and possibly beat Alabama, that'd be a big win for Michigan to end the season off and possibly go 8-5 on the year. But going away from that, I kind of want to. You guys haven't seen or heard anything about my pick'em thing for college football, so I'm gonna kind of go to the to fantasy here and show you, or I'm not gonna show y'all, but I'm gonna go to my Capital One Bowl Mania and look and see what my picks are doing right now. I think I'm not even logged in. Yeah, I'm not even logged in. It's gonna take a second for me to log in here, but yeah, my Capital One Bowl Mania is it's definitely not good, not the best, but it's there. And yeah, my so far I'm 19 and 13. Not too bad. My picks have gotten right. I got the Jackson State game right, the South Alabama game, the Memphis game, James Madison game, UNLV game, Sam Houston game, Ohio game. I had like my first 7 picks right. I was like 7-0, and then I like have just went on a downhill spiral since then, and it's been bad. But just kind of going over my picks so far for the bowl games, but gonna now go back to the actual bowl games that are happening today. And we're gonna kind of break those down. The next bowl game after the Alabama Michigan game will be on CBS in El Paso, Texas, the Sun Bowl between Louisville and Washington. Louisville 8-4 on the season and Washington 6-6 on the season. Louisville's quarterback, I think it's I'm not even gonna say that name. I don't want to butcher his name. I know his first name's Tyler, but I'm not gonna try to butcher his name. He has 3,000 passing yards, just over 3,000 passing yards, 23 TDs, and 6 interceptions on the year. Pretty good season for Louisville's quarterback, um, so far. And he's this Louisville team could have another good season with 9 wins. Um, and then on the other side of things, Washington's quarterback, Will Rogers, uh, just below or just above 2,000 passing yards, 14 TDs and 7 interceptions. Not too bad for Washington, but I mean, you got to kind of look at it and be like, oh well, you know, honestly, the quarterback, both quarterback comparisons, you got to pick Louisville's quarterback in this situation, and then Louisville's running back Isaac Brown, 147 carries, 1,000, just over 1,000 yards, 11 TDs, and averages about 7.3 yards a carry. Not bad. And then I believe this is Joshua Coleman for Washington. He has 184 carries, just over 1,000 yards as well, and 10 TDs. And then Louisville wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks, 61 receptions, just over 1,000 receiving yards, and 9 TDs. Pretty good season for him. He's a senior and definitely going to see him in the league soon. And then Boston for Washington, 60 receptions, 800 yards, 9 TDs. So really, yes, this Louisville team, high-powered offense against a Washington team that really doesn't have that big of an offense like they did last year. But this should be a pretty good game. I feel like though, Louisville's gonna win this game. I see Louisville winning this game pretty big, in the Sun Bowl. This is at UTEP's stadium, so I see a big Louisville win today, just before the new year, and yeah, I mean Washington's a 1.5 point favorite, but I got Louisville in this one to win, and I'm gonna say they win by maybe 2 touchdowns in this game. So the Cardinals, I got them in the second bowl game of the day, and currently that Alabama game is at halftime, 16-10, just for a live update. But that is it for the Sun Bowl. Another bowl game coming up today is the Cheez-It Bowl between South Carolina and Illinois. South Carolina, Illinois, this should be a great game. Lenoris Sellers having a great season. Also, Luke Altmaier's having a great season. Both quarterbacks just having outstanding seasons in their respective conferences. South Carolina is currently a 9 point favorite. This is in Orlando, Florida, at Camping World Stadium. So it should be a good game. This is going to kick off at 2 o'clock on ABC Central Time. Eastern Time, it will be 3 o'clock. But this should be a good game between the Gamecocks and the Fighting Illini. I'm going to take the Gamecocks in this one. You know, the SEC, they've been okay in bowl games, 4-3 so far in the bowl season. But I got the Gamecocks. This Gamecocks team's been a great team, and I definitely think they're going to be out to prove something to the CFP community. of how they probably should have made the college football playoff over Indiana and SMU. But yeah, South Carolina's definitely gonna be out to prove something. So is Illinois. Illinois could get a 10-win season here if they win this game against South Carolina. Both these teams could get 10-win seasons if they win the game. Sorry, still coughing. Gotta drink my lemonade. But yes, South Carolina, Illinois in the Cheez It Bowl should be a great game between those two teams. And yeah, I'm going to take the Gamecocks to cover the spread, and I'm going to say that Lenore Sellers has another one of those great games like he did against Clemson or like he did against Texas A&M, where they played an outstanding game and South Carolina got a huge win. So I got the Gamecocks at 2 o'clock. Check that out on ABC for any of those that will be watching that later. Then we got another bowl game between an SEC team and a Big 12 team now. Will be the Baylor Bears versus the LSU Tigers. LSU this season, looked like they could possibly make the college football playoff midseason and has had quite the fall off since then. Baylor, was not projected to be that good this season. Was projected to be about 5-7, 6-6, but ended up exceeding expectations and going 8-4 this season, with huge victories against teams like Kansas. I believe they beat a good Texas Tech team, and they beat a few other decent teams in the Big 12. But Baylor and LSU at 2:30 on ESPN, the Kinder's Texas Bowl in NRG Stadium. Baylor is currently a 3-point favorite, and the total is 62.5. I believe that Baylor will indeed win this game. Baylor, Dave Aranda's had a great season with his team, kind of turned that program around after talks of him being fired were brought up. And yeah, I got the Bears winning this one. I don't have them covering, but I have them winning it in a close one. This should be a great game. That Texas A&M and USC game the other night, I believe that was the Las Vegas Bowl. That was a great game to watch. And yeah, I got Baylor winning against LSU. So far, the SEC's been back and forth. They lose a game one day, and then they'll win games. So yeah, I got the Baylor Bears beating LSU in a close one in NRG Stadium. That game is at 2:30 ESPN. Check that out later after this episode drops. And, also don't forget to like and subscribe for more episodes like this if you guys want to hear more about college football. And obviously, college football season is coming to an end, so we will be talking more about college basketball coming up soon. And we also, once baseball season gets started, MLB will be up here as well. So don't forget to do that. But yes, Baylor will win the Texas Bowl, I think. And yeah, we will move to our next game. Our next game is the start of the college football playoff quarterfinals. It is the Verbo Fiesta Bowl. This should be, I don't know how this game's going to go, actually. I was going to say this game should be good, but this game could go one of two ways. It could be a blowout for Penn State, or it could be a close game and Boise State wins. We will see. It is in Glendale, Arizona State Farm Stadium, where the Cardinals play, obviously. Penn State's an 11.5-point favorite over Boise State. I get that. But we do have a highly anticipated matchup. You got Penn State's high-powered defense with Abdul Carter leading the charge for that defense. And then Drew Aller and Tyler Warren for Penn State, both great players. And then Ashton Jeanty, obviously the runner-up for Heisman for Boise State. Is he going to be able to do that against Penn State tonight with their high-powered defense on the other side of the ball? I don't know. I do have Penn State winning this game pretty big because I feel like Boise State, they're in a small conference. They're in the Mountain West. But they did play Oregon pretty close, who is the number one team in the country right now. So I don't know. We'll see. This game could go one of two ways. If Boise State wins, that's great. And, I mean, if you guys don't know about the history, Penn State's actually 7-0 in Fiesta Bowls, and Boise State's 3-0. So both these teams undefeated, and one of them is going to have their first loss in the Fiesta Bowl, and the other's going to move on to the semifinals of the college football playoff, which I think the winner of this goes to the Cotton Bowl, is where they go. So they'll go to Texas and play. But I do have Penn State winning by double digits in this game just because Boise State's a smaller school and they're in a smaller conference, and I just don't think they'll be able to compete with a team like Penn State. But we will see later on in the night at 6:30 on ESPN. This should be a good game. Glad to see college football playoffs. Quarterfinals are here now. Can't wait to see how that goes second round. Hopefully it's better than the first round and we don't see a lot of blowouts, but who knows? We could. I don't know. These are at neutral sites, so that should be way better. But don't forget to check that out at 6:30 on ESPN. And yeah, that basically covers all the bowl games for today. But I do kind of want to talk about, since the last episode, we didn't really talk about, I mean, we talked about the 12 team playoff and everything, and we also talked about some of the bowl games that happened during that time. But yeah, we didn't talk about all the other bowl games, and we're just going to kind of break down um some of the bowl games that happened over the past week, why we were gone, why Christmas happened and everything. And yeah, the first game I want to talk about is the 5 overtime thriller, the Hawaii Bowl between South Florida and San Jose State. South Florida won this game 41-39. San Jose State, I mean, what a game. This was 5 overtimes, and geez, it came down to the wire there. So South Florida, I mean, they'll finish their season 7-6, another good year for the Bulls. And then San Jose State finishes their season 7-6 as well. Still a good year for them, considering the conference they're in. Definitely was a big thing for San Jose State to get a 7-6 season. But I mean, honestly, going down the stats, I believe it's Will Eggett is the San Jose State quarterback. He went 33 for 58, 280 yards, and 2 TDs. And then San Jose State's running back, Radcliffe, 15 carries, 65 yards, 1 TD. And then Marcus Coleman, San Jose State wide receiver, 12 receptions, 119 yards, and 1 TD. Just a heck of a game by the offense for San Jose State, but just could not get the job done in 5 overtimes. And that will result in a loss in the Hawaii Bowl. But that was a good game. And I don't know what the trophy is for the Hawaii Bowl. I think it's just a surfboard or something. Who knows? I'm just guessing. But that was the Christmas Eve bowl game. The day after Christmas, we had 3 bowl games that happened. And the one bowl game that happened was the Game Above Sports Bowl in Detroit, Michigan. It was between Pittsburgh and Toledo. Toledo, has been a powerhouse in the MAC conference as of the past 5 or 6 years. And then Pitt's been pretty decent. Pitt's had a good season this year. Actually started 7-0 and sadly ended 7-6 on their season. So not a good ending year for Pitt. At least they made a bowl game, but definitely gonna have to turn things around next year. And Toledo, what a season for them. 8-5. They went 11-2 last year, I believe. And what a year for Toledo in the Game Above Sports Bowl. Toledo won in 6 overtimes actually, 48-46. So we just had a bunch of big overtime games in these bowl games, and that was great to see between those teams. Sorry, taking a drink there. But yeah, Pittsburgh and Toledo, what a game between those teams. And sorry, I'm looking over there because there's loud noises. But yeah, I mean, what a game. Toledo had their quarterback Gleason had 336 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. And then their running back Pitt's running back Reed had 33 carries, 169 yards. What a game. I mean, like I said, a lot of offense in these 2 bowl games that I've mentioned so far that I'm recapping. High-powered offenses for those. And yeah, very big win for Toledo's program. Just shows why the MAC conference is definitely not a conference to sleep on, especially this year since Northern Illinois beat Notre Dame and Toledo's beaten a few decent Power 5 schools this year. So good job for Toledo to win the Game Above Sports Bowl on December 26th. Yeah, that's I don't even know what I'm saying. That was that bowl game though. And then the next bowl game is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl that was in Chase Field in the baseball stadium, actually. And it was between Rutgers and Kansas State. Kansas State, had a pretty decent season. Could have made it to the Big 12 championship. And Kansas State actually now will be 9-4 on the season after winning the guaranteed rate bowl. Great season for them. Kansas State, has been great the past few years. Just overall, they've had a bunch of 9-win seasons. Dang, I hate being sick. But yeah, they've had a bunch of 9-win seasons. As of late, Kansas State's been a great team. But yeah, Rutgers, the past few seasons have been coming on strong as well. This season was supposed to be the year. I heard a lot of analysts early on in the year that were talking about, oh yeah, Rutgers could possibly make it to the Big Ten championship, but that wasn't the case. Rutgers kind of had a fall off mid-season, but still a good season for the Scarlet Knights. I mean, 7-6 on the year, not bad. Their quarterback, Calculamantis, 14 for 32, 237 passing yards, 1 TD, not bad. For Rutgers to end their season off. They did lose 44-41 in a great game. Is just an amazing game to watch. That Rate Bowl was. But yeah, Rutgers heartbreaking loss to end the season. But good job for both of them to make it there. And yes, the guaranteed Rate Bowl champion is Kansas State. And they will finish their season 9-4. Good job for Kansas State. Then the 68 Venturas Bowl in Mobile, Alabama, Arkansas State and Bowling Green. This game was actually, oh my gosh. I've never seen. If you guys didn't see the clip, I'll play it here. Right here.
For the second time. Remember Jackson, what he did the last time he tried to return a punt. It's a fake. Pass wide open. Caught. Johnson, touchdown. Malcolm Johnson was wide open on the fake.
Yeah, and you saw right there that the punter for Bowling Green actually, did a fake. He did a fake punt, and he threw it to a guy downfield for a touchdown. A 60-yard touchdown pass, I believe, is what it was. But yeah, the Bowling Green punter. I mean, what a punt! What a throw! I mean, I've never seen. They brought it. I think it was the third string quarterback that they brought in, to throw the ball, and it definitely worked to perfection. Kind of confused the Arkansas State defense and special teams. It was definitely confusing, but Arkansas State did come out with a victory, 38-31. Bowling Green though 7-6 on the year, not bad. And then Arkansas State 8-5 on the season. Last year Arkansas State had a pretty tough season, but was able to get a big win to end their season this year to go 8-5, which wasn't a bad year for the Arkansas State Red Wolves. So, good year for both of these schools, but Arkansas State comes out on top and wins the 68 Venturas Bowl in Mobile, Alabama. And what a game for the Red Wolves. But the next games that I will highlight, there was actually a lot of games on this day. On December 27th, highlight the Holiday Bowl, the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. Actually, congratulations to Mr. Kyle McCord. He broke Deshaun Watson's ACC record for most passing yards in a season. Kyle McCord in the Holiday Bowl, though, threw for 453 yards and had 5 TDs. And Syracuse ends their season with a 10-win year. What a year for the Orange. I mean, just a great season for Syracuse to end their season, beating Washington State in the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. Like I said, McCord, 24 for 34, 453 passing yards. And then, Syracuse, 10-win season. Can't wait to see what this team will do next year. They might be a pretty good team with Kyle McCord coming back next year, I believe. So definitely a team to look out for in the preseason when the rankings come out next preseason. A team to look out for to see maybe they could be an ACC contender depending on what happens next year and who they have and all that. But, yeah, Syracuse wins the DirecTV Holiday Bowl by a huge margin. It's 13, I believe, is what it was. 17, actually. Big game for Syracuse to win that Holiday Bowl against Wazoo. So, Syracuse 10 wins for the first time in I don't know how long that is, but good year for Syracuse. And then the next bowl game I'm going to highlight is the Lockheed Armed Forces Bowl. This bowl game was between Navy and Oklahoma, and Navy gets 10 wins for the first time in a long time in their program history. Navy, they didn't really have a, I thought they could make the college football playoff, but Notre Dame beat them, and then they lost another game, and then a bunch of stuff just happened to where Navy kind of fell apart. But still, a 10-win season is not bad for the midshipmen. Oklahoma, it's disappointing that they lost, but they had a lot of players into the transfer portal, so I get it. You lose to Navy. But, 21-20, Navy wins the Armed Forces Bowl. First time in a long time that Navy's gotten to 10 wins on a season, and just a great job for the midshipmen to get the job done. Blake Horvath, actually got he had 18 carries for 155 yards and 2 TDs, and he actually had a 94-yard touchdown, or not touchdown, 94-yard run. Was almost a touchdown, but got tripped up there at the end. But good job for the Navy offense and defense to get the job done in the Armed Forces Bowl and get a big win. But Navy will win the Armed Forces Bowl and be 10-3 for the season. Good job for the midshipmen. The next bowl game I want to highlight is the Birmingham Bowl between Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt. This was supposed to be a really good game, and it did not disappoint at all. The Birmingham Bowl was really good between Vanderbilt and Georgia Tech. Haynes King is a junior, I believe. I believe he is a junior, so I think he is coming back next year for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech did lose this game 35-27. Vanderbilt did get the win. 7-6 for Vanderbilt. What a year for Clark Lee and his squad. And I mean, Mr. Diego Pavia, you got to give the man his flowers. He did a great job. 13 for 21, 160 passing yards, 3 TDs through the air, and 2 TDs on the ground for Pavia. He had 17 carries, 84 yards. So good job for Mr. Diego Pavia to get the job done for Vanderbilt and move Vanderbilt to 7-6 on the year. And I don't know the last time that Vanderbilt went 7-6. It's been a long time, but good job for the Commodores to finally have a winning season and end the year on a great note. And can't wait to see what this team does again next year. Obviously, next year's going to be a new year, but this Vanderbilt team's definitely going to be a team to look out for next year, hopefully, in the SEC, and maybe they can make another statement and get to another bowl game next year. And, Georgia Tech, on their side of things, too, Georgia Tech had a great year this season. Started the year ranked after beating Florida State, and but just kind of ended the season off on a bad note. But I can't wait to see what Haynes King does next year. He's definitely lost a couple close games this year, and I think he can win those next year if Georgia Tech, if things go the right way. So definitely going to look out for Georgia Tech and Vanderbilt next year after this Birmingham Bowl game that was really close for a long time. And then the next bowl game, I think after the Birmingham Bowl, was kind of, got to scroll down here after I went out of there. It took me back to the home thing. But the next bowl game after that was the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. The Liberty Bowl between Arkansas and Texas Tech. Arkansas got a big win, big statement win, I'd say, in my opinion, against Texas Tech. Arkansas finished their season 7-6 after beating Texas Tech in the Liberty Bowl. The reason I say it's a statement win is because, the talk of Sam Pittman being fired, a lot of players entered the transfer portal for Arkansas, and definitely it was a statement win for the Razorbacks, because I was like, when I saw they won the game, I was like, oh my goodness, this team, they just saved Sam Pittman's job right here, and indeed they did, with a huge win against Texas Tech, and a great way to end off the season if you're Arkansas and win that Liberty Bowl, because next year, I don't know, their schedule's pretty tough next year, but we'll see what happens with the Razorbacks. They had a tough schedule this year and kind of battled through adversity, and were able to finish 6-6 and then win the bowl game to go 7-6. So good year for the Razorbacks. Can't wait to see what happens next year with maybe their new transfers coming in and everything. But Arkansas takes the Liberty Bowl from Texas Tech, and that is the last, no, actually one more bowl game of the 27th. The last bowl game for the 27th was between USC and Texas A&M. This game ended off in a thriller. Actually going to show the clip here in a second for USC and Texas A&M. USC got a game-winning touchdown in here. I'll just roll that clip really quick right now.
Ayava looking left, throws a slant, caught, touchdown, Kyle Ford.
All right there, USC throws that ball literally right up the middle. Perfect touchdown pass for USC. And yeah, I mean, great way to end the season off of your USC with a tough season after Caleb Williams left, who was the number one draft pick in the NFL draft. A tough season for USC, but they still got they still got a pretty decent recruiting class coming in. So can't wait to see what USC does next year with their new team. And good way to end the season off if you're USC. A&M though definitely had the struggles at the end for sure. But that is it for the bowl games on the 27th of December. And now going to the 28th of December, bowl games. There was a lot of bowl games this day as well. And the one bowl game, I'm not going to talk about every bowl game now because all these were blowouts mainly. The one bowl game I want to talk about really quick is the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And my goodness, please make this the national championship. Like, the Pop-Tarts Bowl is the best bowl game I've ever watched ever. There was a Pop-Tart mascot that literally took off a wrapping paper and acted like prime Cam Newton and came out of like the tunnel or something and was ready to like rumble. I've never seen that happen before. And then they toast the edible Pop-Tart. That's so fun. But Miami and Iowa State won by 1 point, 42-41. And actually, I kind of want to talk about the fact that Cam Ward decided not to play the second half. Very disrespectful to the University of Miami, considering what he's done for the program this year. I would say it's very disrespectful what he did. And yeah, if I was an NFL owner or like GM, I'd be like, no, I'm not drafting this dude because if he doesn't want to play in big time situations, then he doesn't deserve to be on the team. Like, that's ridiculous to have that happen. But yeah, that's why Miami ended up losing because Cam Ward did not play. So yeah, Iowa State and Miami. Iowa State takes the game 42-41 after a late touchdown, puts them ahead. But yeah, great game for the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Definitely want to see that be the national championship one time, but I don't think it ever will happen. So sadly, it won't. But that's going to do it for college football. Now we're going to go to some college basketball. Not really much to talk about, I mean, except kind of conference play starting up soon. Actually, conference play starts today for men's college basketball. And if you want to know the rankings, yes, they did stay the same. Nobody's really moved because nobody's really played. But yes, today you got some good top 25 conference matchups. Right now, Baylor and Utah is going on. Baylor 25th in the country, 8-3 on the season, and Utah's actually 8-3 on the season. That game just started, just tipped off on ESPN Plus. Baylor is currently ahead 3-0 after Nunn hits a 3-point basket. But yeah, I mean this rankings won't really change much until we get into maybe the start of January, possibly. It's not going to change till then, but yeah, definitely looking at some of the games today. I mean, you got Virginia Tech at Duke. I don't really think that will be a competitive game. Duke's a 25.5-point favorite. The one game I'm kind of looking for, though, is West Virginia and Kansas. West Virginia is 9-2 on the year, and Kansas is 9-2 on the year as well. It's at Allen Fieldhouse. But West Virginia has been known to play close with big teams like Kansas, like Baylor, like Houston. And I think the Mountaineers could possibly do that here. That game did actually just tip off as I was talking about it. But I could see West Virginia possibly getting a win against the Jayhawks here in Allen Fieldhouse early on. Who knows? We'll see. But that game did just tip off, so we'll see how that goes. And then, the number one team in the country, Tennessee, will be facing off against Norfolk State today. That's not really going to be that big of a game. Tennessee's a 29.5-point favorite. That's obvious. But Tennessee, I would say they should be number one. But I still think Auburn deserves. I'm a little biased, though, because I'm an Auburn fan. I went to the Auburn game last night when Auburn played Monmouth. And, ooh, man. I've never seen a kid like Ja'Kai Howard dunk a basketball like that before. Dude jumps over the rim. And actually, I'm going to roll that clip right here. And yeah, I mean, Ja'Kai Howard is just an absolute beast under like when he's going down the floor. He's faster than majority of the people on the floor, and he can get down there quick enough for either Pettiford or Denver Jones to throw the ball to him. So definitely team to look out for. Auburn and Tennessee. That game is January 25th. Auburn and Tennessee. I think that's going to be a great game in Neville Arena. And I like Auburn's chances to win, but I definitely think Auburn deserves to be the number one team. But like I said, I'm a little biased because I'm an Auburn fan. But Tennessee really hasn't played anybody, and Auburn's played the toughest schedule in college basketball this year and has won almost all their games. The only game they lost was to Duke at Duke by 6 points, which wasn't a bad loss. But yeah, Tennessee will play Norfolk State in the Food City Center in Knoxville at 2 o'clock today on ESPN Plus and SEC Network Plus. And then later on today on FS1, you have Marquette, who's 11-2 going into Providence. You know the Big East, the way it works. The Big East has been known. A lot of upsets happen early on. And this Providence team historically has been good. And I could see possibly Providence getting a win. Marquette's only a 6.5-point favorite going into Providence. So I could see a possible upset happening in this Marquette and Providence game. But last night, actually, I think we did have an upset last night for college basketball. Let me see. Did we? Yeah, we did actually. It was Kansas State beat number 16 Cincinnati at Kansas State. Great game by the Wildcats. They're 7-5 now on the season, but got a big win against Cincinnati to open Big 12 conference play for them last night. So good job for the Wildcats. They ended up winning 70-67 in a big win at home against Cincinnati. You know, Kansas State's been known to make the NCAA tournament. Who knows? They could make a run here in conference play and possibly do something. We'll see. But yeah, really no other games last night. A lot of blowouts. I mean, there was some close games in Big 12 play, but they weren't close enough to kind of highlight. But yeah, that's and speaking of West Virginia and Kansas right now, just started 4-0. West Virginia's already up, so keep an eye out for that game as this episode will end soon, and also, you know, possibly during the episode I might kind of talk about that as well if it's still up. And we're gonna see. I'm just gonna kind of like see who's playing, you know, later on in the week and stuff like that, because we're gonna miss some time due to the fact that we do these episodes every so often, every week when we get the chance. But I mean, really, if you look at it, I don't see. I mean, here's a good game right here, January 2nd at 9 p.m. at Matthew Knight Arena. It's the number 9 Oregon Ducks against the number 22 Illinois Fighting Illini. Big Ten play is already started, but Big Ten play definitely going to ramp up some more here as Oregon and Illinois are going to play each other. So this should be a good game between these two teams. And yeah, I think that's going to be a great game on Tuesday. Or actually Thursday. Why did I say Tuesday? But this Thursday, yeah. The days are kind of mixed up at this point, but yeah, I think I could see Illinois and Oregon being a great game on Thursday. And now West Virginia up 7-0. But yeah, honestly, now kind of just going to look at bracketology and see what's updated for bracketology. Today, they did do the new men's bracketology. And your top overall seeds, Auburn. Your first team out is Missouri, and your last team in is Vanderbilt. And you see right there, all the teams in that conversation are SEC teams. And the SEC could possibly have 13 to 14 teams make the NCAA tournament the way things are working out right now. We'll see when the season ends, but that would be huge if that happened, especially the way things have gone. But right now, you got your last 4 byes. You have San Diego State, West Virginia, Penn State, and Texas. And then your last 4 in, you have Arizona State, SMU, Nebraska, and Vanderbilt. Your first 4 out is Missouri, Iowa, St. Mary's, and Northwestern. Your next 4 out is BYU, Creighton, Arizona, and Louisville. Honestly, in the last 4 byes and last 4 in, the team I like, the 2 teams I like in that, for the last 4 in, I like Vanderbilt and Nebraska. And then for the last four byes, I like San Diego State and West Virginia. I think San Diego State and West Virginia. San Diego State played a team the other night. I forgot who it was. They played a team pretty close the other night. That's really good. Oh, it was Alabama, I believe they played. They played Alabama pretty close. And then West Virginia obviously playing Kansas right now. That'd be big if West Virginia got a win against Kansas. That would put them in the tournament for sure as of right now if the next bracketology comes out. And then Vanderbilt's had a good season, but they haven't really played anybody, so gotta wait till conference play to see what Vanderbilt's gonna do. And it'll be interesting to see what the Commodores can do. They've had a pretty good season in sports overall in general. Football's been good, basketball, women's basketball, golf, all that stuff, baseball. And then Nebraska, made the tournament last year. And they're back in the conversation again. Nebraska, I think, has had a pretty decent season. But as of right now, they got Nebraska and Vanderbilt playing in the play-in game, and that would be fun to watch for sure. But yeah, Nebraska and Vanderbilt, in my opinion, are the two teams to kind of keep an eye on for the rest of the season until March, till we get to Selection Sunday. I think those are the two teams you got to kind of keep an eye out for going down further in the road. And then now going to kind of break down region by region what Joe Lunardi has put out from ESPN. The South region in Atlanta, you have the Auburn Tigers as the 1 seed, and then your 2 seed is Oregon. Your 3 seed is Texas A&M. Your 4 seed is Mississippi State. Your 5 is Michigan State. Your 6 seed is Baylor. Your 7 seed is Utah State. Your 8 seed is Clemson. Your 9 seed is Ohio State. Your 10 seed is North Carolina. Your 11 seed will be Drake. And your 12 seed will be San Francisco. And then your 13 seed will be Grand Canyon. Your 14 seed will be Lipscomb. And then your 15 seed is Central Connecticut. And then your 16 seed will be a play-in game either between Southern or Hampton. And honestly, this region here, the South region in Atlanta, this region here got a lot of good teams. Obviously Auburn, the 1 seed. I think the Oregon at 2 kind of is it's not surprising to me. Oregon's had a pretty good year. And I think honestly Oregon, it would be a great fit to put them at the 2 seed. And then the 3 seed kind of makes sense if you have A&M there. A&M's they're kind of helter-skelter. I mean, they win some games that they're supposed to, and then they lose some games that they're not supposed to. So it just depends on what A&M does the rest of the season. That's a team to look out for in that region. Obviously, this is not what the regions are right now. This is not what this committee has selected. This is just projections that like analysts think will happen. I don't think this is what's going to happen, but I could be wrong. But A&M, yes. I mean, that 3 seed, that's great for them. They just did move up. They were 4 seed last week in last week's bracketology, so definitely something to look out for there in bracketology for A&M. And then the 4 seed at Mississippi State having a great season, great year. I just don't know if they can maintain that 4 seed status because they got a very tough schedule coming up. Mississippi State, I believe, plays 7 ranked teams to start conference play. So going to be a tough road ahead for them, for the Bulldogs for sure. I just don't know if that's where they're going to be seated by March, but we'll see how they can fight through adversity. And then your 5 seed is Michigan State. Michigan State, has played some pretty tough teams this year. Actually did beat UConn in the Maui Invitational. Excuse me. They did beat UConn in the Maui Invitational. They've had some pretty good and close losses, which the committee will look at that. And for those that don't understand basketball much, really what the committee looks at is you have quad 1 wins, quad 1 wins, quad 2 wins, quad 3, all that. Which quad 1 wins are against teams that are ranked in the top 25, or they're high in the net rankings, which the net rankings are the rankings you earn when you beat the teams that are very high in the net rankings. And then obviously, you have like Michigan State's beaten some big teams. I don't think they beat Kansas. Yeah, they did not beat Kansas. Um, but they were awfully close in the State Farm Classic. But Michigan State at 5, I can believe it. I think Michigan State is a really good team. And I could see them. I could see them making it to that 5 seed, maybe even higher. It once the season continues, and we'll see what happens later on in that part. And then the other seeds, I was gonna break it down seed by seed, but I was like, probably not because it's gonna take too long. But I mean, Baylor, they're a really good team. They're in the rankings now. Don't know if they can maintain a 6 seed though. They might be. I say by the end, like once it happens, like once the selection committee comes out and says it, Baylor will probably be like an 8 seed or 9 seed at that point. And then just like one more team to highlight, and that is probably Ohio State. Ohio State is a pretty good team. They've been moving up lately. Did lose to Auburn pretty bad, lost by like 40 almost. But Ohio State, I did watch them play in person against Auburn, and that was pretty fun. I mean, Ohio State didn't do good in that game, but Ohio State does have a pretty decent team. They can shoot three pretty well. So this Ohio State team, definitely a team that can probably get higher than a 9 seed if they play good in Big Ten play. But then going away from the South region now, in the Midwest region in Indianapolis, you have Tennessee is the 1, your 2 is Marquette, your 3 is Kansas, your 4 is Gonzaga, your 5 is Purdue, your 6 is Michigan, your 7 is Cincinnati, your 8 is Dayton, your 9 is Georgia, your 10 is Penn State, your 11 is Texas, your 12 is Arkansas State, your 13 is Princeton, your 14 is North Dakota State, your 15 is UMass Lowell, and your 16 is Youngstown State. In this region, honestly, Tennessee obviously number 1 team in the country. That would be big to see Tennessee get a win or to get that region as well. And I think Tennessee could do good in the tournament for sure. Another team I look at in Tennessee's side on their bracket in Lexington is Dayton. Dayton is the 8 seed as of now, and they would be the automatic qualifier. Dayton's really good. Dayton beat UConn. They almost beat North Carolina. So Dayton's not a bad team at all. And I think the Flyers could have a pretty good year and keep that 8 seed, maybe even get a little bit higher, depending on what happens. But Dayton, yes, definitely could be a team to look out for in that Midwest region. Another team to look out for in there is Arkansas State, the 12 seed. They played Alabama pretty close this season. And this will be in Seattle. Yeah, they're playing Purdue, and they played Alabama pretty close this season. And yeah, I like Arkansas State here from the Sun Belt to be a pretty good team to face off in that first round. Purdue and Arkansas State would be a pretty good 12-5 matchup. That's what I would like. And then another good team is I would say honestly Cincinnati and Penn State. The 7 and 10 matchup would be a pretty good matchup as well in Cleveland, Ohio. Cincinnati's had a great year. Did just lose to Kansas State, but that's going to happen. You're not going to win every game. And then Penn State's been making a strong push as of late, getting themselves name recognition in the tournament. So yeah, I like Penn State in this one, or in that bracket as well. Penn State and Cincinnati. So yeah, the Midwest region and the South region have had some pretty good teams named so far. So definitely things to look out for the rest of the year. Look at some of those teams. And then your West region in San Francisco, you have Duke as the 1, you have Florida as the 2, Kentucky as the 3, UCLA as the 4, Memphis as the 5, the 6 is Illinois, the 7 is St. John's, the 8 is Ole Miss, the 9 is Texas Tech, the 10 is San Diego State, the 11 is the playing game between Arizona State and SMU, and the 12 is UC San Diego, the 13 is McNeese, the 14 is Kent State, the 15 is Northern Colorado, and then the 16 is Marist. But honestly, the teams to look out for in this region is, I would say Duke, obviously number 1 seed in that region, will be a team to look out for. I think Memphis as well. Memphis in that Denver area. I think Memphis could be a team to look out for. Played a pretty tough Auburn team. Did lose by a lot, but they played a pretty tough Auburn team and played good for a half. And then they beat UConn as well. And then UCLA's had a good year. I like their chances to do something in the game against McNeese. But that McNeese has been a pretty tough school the past few years to face off against in the first round. But yeah, I do like UCLA in that UCLA, Memphis, in that Denver area right there. And then I don't I do like St. John's in Cleveland. I like St. John's in that one right there. Cleveland, St. John's and San Diego State both. I like them and their chances to make it make it past that first round. I like either one of them in that situation. And then I like Florida, the 2 seed Florida. They've had a great start to their season. If they continue what they've been doing, I like Florida's chances to make it really far in March Madness, and I think it would be a great game between Duke and Florida if that ended up being the Elite Eight game. That'd be a huge game between those two teams if that ended up happening. But the West region, those are the teams highlighted in that region from bracketology. But the last region we're going to highlight is the East region in Newark, New Jersey. This region is the 1 seed's Iowa State. The 2 seed is Alabama. The 3 seed is UConn. The 4 seed is Houston. The 5 seed's Oklahoma. The 6 seed's Pitt. The 7 seed's Maryland. The 8 seed is Wisconsin. The 9 seed is Arkansas. The 10 seed's West Virginia. The 11 seed is the playing game between Nebraska and Vanderbilt. The 12 seed's Liberty. The 13 seed's Furman. The 14 seed is High Point. The 15 seed's Norfolk State. And the 16 seed is Lehigh or Southeast Missouri State. And this one, obviously, you got Iowa State as the number 1 seed. I like Oklahoma in this one. Oklahoma hasn't really played anybody, but they're undefeated. And I like Oklahoma in this region in the East. I think that would be a great region for them, and I think the Sooners could get something done. Depending on what happens in conference play, obviously, conference play will start soon for SEC. I believe it starts January 4th, so that would be a heck of a start for conference play for the SEC, and I think definitely something to look out for sure. Oklahoma, definitely a team to look out for. And then Houston, they're definitely a team to look out for as well. They both could possibly play each other, the 5 and the 4. But Houston, yeah, they played Auburn early on in the year and played a close game, great game there in Houston. And I like Houston's chances to make it pretty far in the tournament this season. Just got to get past Furman in that first game because Furman is a pretty decent team this year as well. But I like Houston and Oklahoma both in the East region. And then another team I like as well is I like the Alabama Crimson Tide in this one. Alabama has had some very big wins this season. And I like Alabama to possibly make it pretty far, maybe even the Elite Eight in this East region here. And we'll see what the Crimson Tide can do. Depending on who they play, and this might not even be the region, like I said. So we'll see what happens later on in the season. Follow them throughout conference play and through the tournaments and everything. So we'll definitely see what happens. But that is my own version of bracketology right there. Kind of just breaking down Joe Lenardi from ESPN, his bracketology, kind of looking at it a little bit there. But yes, that is going to do it for men's college basketball. And we can now move in to women's college basketball, which will be our last thing of the day. Last little segment of the day. And women's college basketball, we're going to take a look at their bracketology as well. We're not going to look at rankings actually we're going to look at scores first because we want to highlight some conference games going on right now. And today, really the only conference games going on right now, you got Washington and let's see here. You got Washington and Illinois going on. It's in the fourth quarter right now, 66-60. Illinois 11-2 on the year. Washington 10-4 on the season. Washington currently beating Illinois 66-60. 8 minutes to go in that fourth quarter. So we'll see what happens in that game, kind of going forward. And then Utah's women and Arizona's women are playing right now. Utah currently ahead in the second quarter, 20-9. 8 minutes to go in that second quarter. Utah is 1-0 in the Big 12, and so is Arizona. So could be a big game between those two teams in Big 12 play. And then Big Ten play already started, but the Oregon Ducks and Northwestern Wildcats, Oregon 9-4 on the season, was previously ranked about 2 weeks ago. Northwestern 7-6 on the year. This is at Northwestern. Currently, Oregon is a 10.5 point favorite. I do like the Ducks though to win this game in Evanston, Illinois. I like Oregon to take that victory against Northwestern. And then the last conference game of the day, Minnesota and Wisconsin. Minnesota 13-1 on the season, and Wisconsin 10-3 on the season. I like the Golden Gophers to get a victory at Wisconsin in a rivalry game. I think Minnesota will get a big win here at 3:30 on Big Ten Plus Network. Minnesota is a 7.5 point favorite, and I think the Golden Gophers will get a big win against the Badgers. But we will be going to the women's bracketology now. Going to break down that, as I said. But 2025 is almost here, like we mentioned, and we got some new women's teams to look out for. Your top overall seed is the number 1 team in the country, the UCLA Bruins. Your first team out is Virginia Tech, and your last team in is St. Joseph's. But kind of going on the bubble here, you got Nebraska, Stanford, Oregon, Iowa State in the last 4 byes here. And then your last 4 in is Richmond, Minnesota, Louisville, St. Joseph's. And then your first 4 out is Virginia Tech, UNLV, Clemson, Miami. And then your next 4 out is Texas Tech, Princeton, St. John's, and James Madison. And currently right now, going down the line of the bracket, Region 1 Spokane. This, obviously, if you guys don't know, the Elite Eights in women's college basketball are in Spokane, or they're in one location. Same with the first round and second round. They're at the home, like they're at the higher seeds' home court. So that's the way it works for women's college basketball. But currently, right now, the Region 1 Spokane, Los Angeles, UCLA will be hosting currently, if this holds out. UCLA will be your 1 seed in Los Angeles. Your 16 will be UC Davis. Your 8 will be Florida State. And your 9 will be South Dakota State. I like South Dakota State in that one due to the fact that South Dakota State's been historically good at women's basketball. But they're no match for the number 1 team in the country. I think UCLA, though, will make it to the Final Four. This team, a very good team this year. And, I like UCLA's chances to make it to the Final Four. And then in Atlanta, Georgia Tech would be hosting against Norfolk State, and then West Virginia and San Diego State would be in there as well. I got a chance to watch the Auburn women play Norfolk State. They actually lost. The Auburn women aren't bad, but Norfolk State is really good. Norfolk State, 13 seed. They've moved up since last week, but Norfolk State definitely a team to look out for. They're a very talented team. They press the whole game, and that really distracts other teams from getting the ball at the court. And definitely a team to look out for in Norfolk State. But that's in Atlanta. In Manhattan, Kansas, not Manhattan, New York, but Manhattan, Kansas, you got Kansas State hosting, and then you have the Iowa Hawkeyes, who recently had Caitlin Clark last year. I like that one because you could have Iowa and Kansas State face off against each other, and that should be a pretty good matchup between those teams, and that wouldn't be a bad matchup to see at all. And then LSU will be the host of the Baton Rouge, Louisiana region. And LSU's got the easiest path to the Final Four, it looks like, because they got to face Baylor, Nebraska, or Southeast Louisiana in their region. So that wouldn't be too hard for them to do either. And then, honestly, just the rest of the 1 seeds in the women's tournament, you got South Carolina, Notre Dame, and USC. All those teams, really good teams, just historically good programs. The reason it's harder to talk about women's college basketball is because there's a lot more blowouts. That's why the bracketology is not really fun for women's college basketball to talk about. It's because there's a lot more blowouts in women's college basketball, and there's a lot more superior teams. And that's why I'm probably not going to spend as much time on this, because there's not as many high-powered teams in this bracketology as like the men's, because the men's is different than women's. The women's, you automatically know the outcome before the game starts almost. and the men's, you really don't. It's kind of just up in the air. But honestly, the women's bracketology is just everything's the same from last week. So really not going to break it down because it's just the same as last week. So we did cover everything we were supposed to get to today, which is good. I'm glad we did. But that will do it for episode 5 of the Halftime Sports Talk Show. I hope you guys have a happy new year and enjoy the first parts of 2025. We will be back next week. Don't know when. School will be starting up again, so don't know when. I'm going to try to work that in my schedule, but we will be starting back next week. And like I said, hope you guys enjoy your 2025.